Today's NFP numbers were a big deal. We saw a big shoot to the downside for the dollar and for a lot of respective currency pairs, and we saw gold launch through the ceiling. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some charts. We're going to talk about what we could possibly see going into next week with this crazy US dollar news that we saw today on Friday. What is today? Today is September 3rd. We're going to be taking a look at some of the charts that we are sort of most interested in. A lot of you guys seem to be really interested in things like gold, so we'll take a look at those things as well. So we had really big news. First of all, what was it? Well, let's pull up forexfactory.com. We could take a look here at the news, and what you'll notice is that basically what caused all the volatility today was this news release that we had, which is NFP. The big figures coming out that were a big miss, right? So we expected, think about this, they expected 720,000 new jobs to be created here in the United States during the month of August. In reality, what do we got? Well, we got 235,000. That's a big miss. So a lot less jobs than expected. And what does this sort of mean for markets? And what is this, sort of causing the markets to do? Why are people so bearish around this release? Well, let's talk about it for a second. If you think about it, let me get my camera. Ooh, there's the other angle. We'll do this one. So if you think about it, if you have a dramatic decline or less than expected jobs being created, that tells us that the consumer sentiment, or sorry, the company sentiment is a little bit less willing to hire in this atmosphere, and maybe also some hesitation from the average person looking for a job. Maybe they're a bit more hesitant about going back to work due to fears around the COVID Delta variant, right? So you have a little bit of concerns coming into this market, and that is actually being played out in today's volatility and in the charts. You can see here's the DXY down significantly today. This is the daily chart. You can see what was, last week it was a super bearish move. We saw follow through this week. And this is the sort of thing that causes big trends in the currency market, where you get these multi-week rallies one way or the other. Now, the dollar has been really bullish for a while. And I want to talk about a couple levels going into next week that we could talk about. Is the dollar bull train done? Well, I'm not going to lie. Today's numbers were pretty much a big sign to bulls that, hey, we're not quite where we want to be in terms of, performance economically. That could lead to some further downside and some stalling for US dollar bulls. Now, with that said, again, we sold off very hard this week, and it does look like where price is going to end up is down there at the lows, down at 91.8 or so, somewhere in this range here. Now you'll notice that price made its way back down to this area, not just randomly, but probably because there is a lot of support here. You do have a lot of buyers that historically have been propping this level up. We've seen a couple different scenarios in which buyers basically fill up their positions down in these lows. So maybe next week we see some form of a bounce, but let me caution you on getting too bullish on the dollar at this time. With this recent break to the downside, we saw a dramatic change in both the structure and technical analysis of the market, as well as the fundamentals. The fundamentals have been very bullish, right? Or the outlook has been, hey, jobs are going to come roaring back and things are going to be a-okay and everything is going to be great. And I'm not saying that it's the end of the world or anything like that, but what I am saying is that maybe the comeback is a little bit slower than expected here in the United States. We also saw something really interesting from Jerome Powell recently, which is basically that, he talked about the fact that in the US, we are not quite where we want to be in order to come anywhere near hiking rates, which, as many of you guys know, as fundamental traders, that's a huge catalyst to the upside. We've heard rumors from New Zealand, for example, that they want to raise rates. That's a very boostering thing to your currency. Now in the US, like I said, that hesitation is there for, waiting and not wanting to raise rates anytime soon. That basically dissuades investors, and we can see that playing out in the chart here with the recent sell-off. So is there a bounce coming? Well, I would say from a technical analysis standpoint, you may get some form of a bounce next week. Looking at the DXY, they're at 91.8 8, somewhere in this range, maybe we see a little bit of a buyer. But is it going to be something that I am buying? Personally, no. I'm sitting on the sidelines. I would not be caught buying this dip personally, just because, again, that sell trend is not just technically backed, but also fundamentally backed with that scare around the unemployment figures, as well as Jerome Powell's speech. So, like I said, I'm not buying the dip here. I am paused on my bullishness for the dollar. Again, things were really good in this technical uptrend. Things were looking very promising. But then once the Fed and Jerome Powell more specifically started talking about, hey, yeah, we'll taper, but rate hikes are nowhere near. That was a signal. That was a big early, warning sign for dollar bulls to maybe step to the side, or look to re-enter at a later point. We'll take a quick look at some of the impacts of today's market with the volatility surrounding the jobs report. We saw the Euro USD make a significant push to the upside, now retesting levels that we have talked about on the live stream several times on my channel, which is up there at 1.19. We see price retesting 1.19, finding a little bit of instant, sell off there. We did see, if we look at the lower time frames, you can see, look at the 1 hour chart. We did get rejection immediately from that area, but again, the bulls came roaring back, pushing this up as the dollar is still perceived as weak. So as we look at this going into next week, again, I think that there may be some form of a technical bounce for the dollar. You may see a bit of a pullback, but overall, it does seem like the trend favors continued selling of the dollar and continued buying of other crosses. Another one that's interesting to me right now, I've mentioned on my channel recently, the Aussie dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and the Canadian dollar. All of those three look bullish to me, relatively speaking, to the dollar. Look at this. So we saw the pop on Aussie dollar. We saw a little bit of profit taking, but then immediately buyers stepping up and pushing this thing into the close so far. We'll see if that can continue. But again, looking very bullish to the upside there for the Australian dollar. Now, there's nothing yet for me on the Aussie dollar or I am already in a CAD trade to the long side. So, that's going quite well so far. But there's nothing that's, calling my name to jump into a position right now. What I will say, as you can see on the A1 trend scanner, this is a tool that I use in my own trading. So what I've got here is the A1 trend scanner, and you'll notice that it's printing a lot of bullish signals on things like the Kiwi dollar and the Australian dollar. By the way, if you'd like this tool and you'd like to find out more information, I'll link it down below in the description if you would like to get access to it. But there's no buying signal here just yet. So what that means is basically, if we look at something like Aussie dollar, you can see it's trending dramatically, Aussie yen trending dramatically, but the signal's not there yet for an entry on the long side. What it's going to be waiting for is it's going to be waiting for a bigger retracement on this chart, looking for an oversold status. In that case, it might print an alert, and maybe next week there are some primed setups for looking for continuation of the upward trend and upward momentum that we see on some of these charts. Again, another one of interest to me is the CAD. So we can take a look at, for example, USD CAD here, which is looking very bearish, but again, probably for me, waiting for a pullback, waiting for something to get involved in. But again, like I said, I am already in my CAD yen long position. You can see here it is. I've got my trade there. So far, so good. We'll see if that can keep playing into next week. But do like the CAD long, do like the Aussie, and of course the Kiwi as well. To the long side, against the dollar specifically, they look very good to me. Of course, I can't buy at the highs, but looking for signals, and I'll probably rely on this tool here to maybe find some better setups going into next week. So again, the jobs numbers, pretty scary for the dollar, looking pretty weak overall. And in my opinion, I think that we see a weakening dollar for the next several weeks. Maybe not immediately. We may see pauses, and like I said, technical bounces may be in play. But when we look at things like pound dollar as well, look at this thing, ran away today. We absolutely saw this thing break out of the consolidation point, just like we talked about on today's live stream. And you can see, bam, up, retest, and shot up to the moon. So if you caught that trade, congratulations, you're probably having a happy Friday. If you're on the wrong side of this trade, then that's a tough Friday for you. I hope that you take the weekend and maybe reset, do some back testing, and come back fresh next week. But again, I think that the dollar is still very weak until further notice, until we see something change. I'm more on the short side of the dollar and looking to buy some of those commodity currencies like the CAD, the Aussie, and the Kiwi. So those are my picks for the next few weeks. With that said, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, do me me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Come back and watch more free trading content. You don't have to go spend $1,000 on a course. You can get it all here for free on YouTube. So check it out. Click the link down below in the description if you'd like to get access to the A1 Trend Scanner. And with that said, guys, have a great weekend. Hope you are safe and enjoy, if you're in the US, the long weekend that we've got for the holiday on Monday. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you back next time.